Hi, I'm Jarrod,
And I'm Nancy,
and we are from Art Lovers Australia.
and today we're going to talk about the Archibald, one of
Yeah.
our favourite yearly trips down to Sydney.
It is. We love our yearly pilgrimage south
That's
to
right.
Sydney. So, but it's something we enjoy doing, and debating, as a lot of people do when they go to visit the Archibald Prize. Everyone has their favourites, and generally your favourite isn't what wins. So
That's true. But there's so much talent, so, I mean, I don't think you should take offence if you're not winning, because how can you judge? It's impossible to judge, to be
it's a
honest.
beauty of art. It's subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone has their own opinion, and that's great.
But I do think the People's Choice is pretty accurate every year. So people that go through get to have their say, and that's always interesting to see what the people have chosen.
Yeah, it is good.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about...
Sorry, yeah.
Well, we always have conversation with the Archie,
Yeah.
but it's so interesting to see how the Archibald's evolved. So when you look at the history of the Archibald over its 96-year history, the data looks very sad, really, for who's been shown. But then when you reflect more on it, it's definitely a reflection on society. So we notice a lot of the pictures were men, particularly in the 40s. There was lots of...
If you Google Archibald winners, it comes up the page. I think it's on the Gallery New South Wales side. I think all the winners and all the images of all the winners. For a long period, there's a lot of white men sitting down in chairs, and painted by white men. So but society's changed, hence, and the Archibald's changed.
Yeah. There would have been very few women that were considered by society significant enough to do a portrait of, so obviously they weren't represented. And then as an artist, there were very few women that were getting acknowledged in their careers at that time too.
Yeah,
so
sure.
that's definitely changing in the last few years as when we've been going down.
Yeah, so Yvette Coppersmith won last year, I think it was, and
So we're seeing more women shown for a start. That gives them a chance to win.
Yeah, it's more diverse. And I think the fact they've got an invited artist, one of the judges as well in the last few years, it's really helped give it a broader scope of what's chosen and displayed.
Because obviously that was one of the criticisms of the Archibald, and it may still continue to be a criticism, but they've responded. So normally the trust does the decision making. Trustees. And in response to them not being particularly in the art area, they've got a guest artist that helps with the judging now. So
it's not saying they're not. I think maybe it's good to mix things up because they have a different artist every year.
Yeah.
The trustees obviously have a great love of art and appreciation of art and understanding of art. So nothing against them, but it's good to have a guest judge come in every year and mix things up and give a different perspective and different slant on things, I think
that's a great idea. And I like that they're responding to public criticism, let's say.
Criticism, suggestion.
Feedback.
Yeah.
Everything evolves.
But I think it's all about making it better and more of an even playing field, and maybe that's society in general. So
yeah, I was just going.
Reflection.
I'm just going to pull up the data while you talk.
Put your facts, Nancy. I'm going to talk about stuff.
Well, it's always good to look at the facts. So in our blog, I published it, but I want to get it right.
Yeah, please check out our blog about the Archibald and its evolution.
Yeah, so when we look at the history of it, all 95 of the past winners have been white, Caucasian.
Yeah.
So that's the actual winners. But when I think about the people that I remember the most, like Arndo's his
Jack
portrait
Charles,
of Uncle Jack,
yeah.
That is phenomenal. So the pieces I actually remember aren't necessarily Caucasian.
But, everyone has their favourites, I think. When you go to the Archibald, like we were saying before, everyone has their favourites, and they tend to be the ones they remember most and what sort of appeals to them, or relates to them the most. So, what your favourite is isn't necessarily what my favourite is, and so on and so forth. So.
And the second point in the data was 83 of the past winners have been men, so only 12 have been women in the whole history. Obviously, once again, the ones that stand out to me are people like Del Catherine Barton. So
Margaret Ollie.
Well, Quilty painted her, but she was a subject. Yes, that's true.
Sure.
Painted Caucasian subject. There's only been 3 Indigenous Australians subjects in the entire history of the prize. Hopefully that will be changing.
Is it changing?
Uncle Jack was a great piece. And people chose that as a winner.
It's engaging.
But wasn't with the actual committee, with the trustees.
Yeah. Well, I may have appealed to some of them. No, it's hard to say, but...
It is impossible to judge these things because the quality of the artist is so high.
I have trouble just choosing one every year. I'm like, I like that one. That's my favourite. And then I go around the corner and go, oh, actually, that's been your favourite. And I go back, oh, actually, the one back there.
Yeah, it takes a bit of consideration.
Yeah, we spend... I think every year we spend a couple of hours.
Yeah.
We go out, have a cup of tea, come back in, go back through.
Yeah, the second viewing is always interesting to see what has maintained your interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always good to see it in the flesh because sometimes you see work and you have no idea that it's really tiny or that it's really massive, and those things make
an assumption
difference.
Even though the size is there and so forth. And it takes a whole new appeal when you see it in person too. I think it's you can go, oh yeah, I like that, but when you see it in person, it's this massive work. You go, wow.
Yeah.
You get to get up close and look at the brush strokes and see the detail and see the sweat on the canvas or wood. But it's see the textures. Texture's a big thing for me, and I think it's worth the trip.
I'm just looking down there at Anne Middleton's prize for Guy. The translucency of the skin was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's sort of something you didn't really pick up in the pictures. When we saw it, but when we saw it in person, the scale of it and the translucency of the art piece was captivating.
Yeah,
so.
And you always know what the public's thinking because when you walk around the exhibition, there'll be lots of artworks that people have just walked by, and then you'll see everyone huddled around a certain artwork, and
it's good people. It's good people watching because you kind of see where people are drawn to and where they're not drawn to, and where they linger, where they don't linger. It's sort of it's kind of interesting in itself.
Which stories have really appealed or resonated with the audience? That's really interesting.
Yeah, and who's looking at the particular pieces? You make a certain piece and there's a certain demographic just circle around as one piece. And different demographics circle around different pieces altogether. So it's sort of, I don't know.
What I do like about the Archibald is the variety, though, because there's pieces that I definitely don't like when I go.
Yeah.
There's pieces that I love, and I think that's good to have a bit of controversy about what's included, so it's not all one particular taste. And I look forward to each year discovering something new.
It is. You do sometimes see the same artists. And I've heard other people say this, and something I've noticed when I've gone there myself over time that you'll go one year and you'll come back and it's the same artist again, but they've just done something different. But that's credit to the artist and. But maybe I think in the back of my mind I'm thinking perhaps there's another grass that's not being seen because these artists are favourites of the trustees or they're more familiar with the work, and that's another criticism that's been had that a lot of the finalists come from the Sydney or Melbourne areas when there's great artists in Perth and
all over
Brisbane
Australia
and Cairns and Gold Coast and so on. So
I guess we all look out for artists we know, and being from Queensland, we particularly are there any Queenslanders here? And so sometimes it might be only one person.
The old state pride and patriotism kicks in, and you're like, "Where's the Queenslanders? Where's the Brisbane people? Where's the Gold Coast people?" Yeah,
you want to be represented there.
But
I also get that as much as we want them to be there, they have to enter in the first place, and if you live in Sydney, you can drive your piece over there
so
and deliver it.
In saying what I've just said, it probably may speak to the ratio of entrants being entered. You know, like Nancy said, if you're in Sydney, then you just drive there. Whereas if you're further afield, then you got to pack it up and ship it. And
yeah, the cost can.
Then if you don't get selected, you've got to bring it all the way back. So it's that can put a lot of artists off.
Yeah, the cost can be prohibitive for an emerging artist.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to finding new artists this year.
Yeah. Hopefully, there's some really fresh talent come out. Let's see some amazing portraits. Well, there's always amazing portraits at the Archibald. So.
Oh, I should say there's also the Salon de Refusers. So,
of course.
I mean, that's just as interesting to us. So while the Archibald's on, the Salon hangs pieces that have been not selected for the Archibald but have artistic merit, and I think sometimes they are able to take more risks at the Salon. That's always...
It's always interesting to go and see.
If you're going down for the Archibald, I highly recommend also visiting the Salon.
Yeah, which is over at the Observatory Hill there, so the SH Irving Gallery. So it's lovely. It's and like Nancy said, it's really interesting to look at. Not the rejects from the Archibald and Sulman and Wynne, but they're like, there's some great artists up here in the Salon. Wendy Sharp is in there. Ewan McLeod's been in there.
Jenny Riddle. Anyway.
Yeah, the list goes on.
There's amazing artists there.
No, like it's a credit to the Archibald that credit. It's got this caliber of artist didn't even make the top 50, whatever. It's it's a reason why it's one of the top art prizes in Australia, I guess. So.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get to go down soon.
Yeah,
and
it's May. It's in, so 11th of May, I think it begins the exhibition. So.
And we'll keep you informed about our favourites then.
Yeah. Tell what we love and what we think should have won.
I'm sure you'll have your say too.
Yeah, everyone has their say too. So anyway, that's us for now, and take care.
Have a good day.
Yep. Right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.